number one source, Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 392. We are, as always, glad to be back. Let's thank our sponsors right off Jump Street here. Iron Sports Cards, Sports Collectors Digest, Hobby Hotline, Upper Deck, Card Ladder, and our latest sponsor, happy to be affiliated with them, the Certified Trading Card Association. And they're looking to really, implement some standards and, help the hobby be as best as it can be. So check them out. Their commercial is going to run here at the midpoint. Check their website out and a lot of things they are doing. We talked about it a little bit on this past Hobby Hotline about their graded card registry, where you can kind of reference cards to whether they're stolen or something fishy about them. So the protect the hobby, and I will always align myself with anything that is for the good of this hobby that I've been involved in now for 40 plus years, starting with as a 7-year-old kid. So happy to have them aboard. Look for Nick Jarman, their founder and CEO, on a future episode down the line here soon. So with that being said, let's get the show underway. We have father and son, Zack and Porter Byrne, the conclusion of our two-part series with Zack and Porter. And it's been 4 years since we had them on the last time, and so did some catching up. Two great hobbyists that doing good things. So they are back for our conclusion of our conversation. So with that being said, let's get the show going. I'll ask Porter this, Zack, but again, you can jump in too because you're right there with him. One of the complaints I hear, and it's legitimate, and it's got, is, man, the price of the hobby. New waxes, some of these boxes are coming out at 4-figure level. If I'm a kid, I can't afford that. And I don't disagree with that. You can't disagree with that. The proof is in the pudding. And I guess, one of the nice things about being old, there's not a ton of them, but I grew up in an era of collecting where, packs were quartered. There was no super premium. There was no chrome. I didn't have to, sell something expensive to buy some packs or even a box. You could buy a box for, $12, $14, sometimes less. And, I feel like those days are gone. I sort of feel like Topps and the other companies that are going to be producing products still need to make some products that, kids, there's nothing more fun than opening a pack of cards, right? No one will argue that, including myself. But it's getting harder to do that. That's where I'm kind of going. And so I think, I know Topps does like the big league and some of the geared to kids. I'd like to see maybe even do a little bit more. But my question for Porter here, as I went off on a little soapbox there, well, my question to Porter is, as a kid, and I know you're a teenager now, it's crazy, but, what do you say to a kid or yourself that maybe is discouraged? Like, hey, I don't know if I want to stay in this hobby. I'm sort of getting priced out. What's your advice either to yourself or someone, a fellow friend or someone that says, hey, man, I'd like to share this hobby with you, but I can't even open a box of cards anymore.
Yeah, I would agree with you. The price of the hobby is getting pretty expensive. And as the years progress, it'll probably get more expensive or less expensive, depending on where the supply and demand goes. But some advice, or not just advice, but like thoughts. Maybe for somebody who just likes to collect sets, maybe just step away from ripping wax and opening packs and just try and go to shows and find singles. And then, in my opinion, that would be a better way to put together sets. I've learned that over the years, as Dad said earlier. And that helps. Usually I get the flagship Series 1 and Series 2 done within about a year of it coming out. So I think that going to shows and just getting singles for cheap is a pretty good investment and a better investment than just opening packs all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think certainly living through the boom in 2020, 2021, and when I got in 22, like if I wanted to get Porter a pack of cards or something for his birthday, I mean, I couldn't plan on just going to Target or LCS and it would be there. Yeah. I do think that product is much more readily available, which kind of back to the supply and demand comment, it should drive down the cost. I think cards are just like anything in life, you got to get what you can afford, right? You can't go out and buy a flashy sports card if you don't have a flashy sports card budget. So, for a kid, we've had Porter bring a buddy and, go to a show and say, well, what do you collect, right? If you like basketball cards, don't go after Topps Chrome basketball or, trying to find autos, like maybe find a bargain box, a quarter box. If you bring $10, you can walk out of there with some Giannis's or, Anthony Edwards. You're not going to get a rookie, but you're going to get some cards of people that you like. And I think we may have touched on this last time, John. I mean, a big part of what's driven up the cost of product is the odds on the side of a pack. It is that near kind of like gambling experience that people have. They just keep driving it up. Mm-hmm. Where the time that you referenced, when it was 15 quarter packs, you just got the card. Sure, you'd want the Gary Sheffield rookie or something like that, but there wasn't a one-of-one Gary Sheffield that you can get, and so it all stayed, fairly reasonable price. And so it's anytime you're gonna have that element where people think that they can get a quick bang for their buck flipping something, it's going to drive the price up. But whether it's eBay, even if you don't have shops that are close to you, or sport lots or trading card database, like you can find the cards you want. You may not go with the speed that you want, but you'll get there. And yeah, it's a good lesson in just life in general. Can't always get what you want.
Yeah, well said on both accounts, guys. And piggybacking off Porter's point, right? Flagship fairly still reasonable. I mean, it has gone up a little bit, but I don't think it's where it's unobtainable. And so you kind of know when it's coming, so you can sort of it's like when the pitchers and catchers report. If you're a baseball collector, that Topps flagship is very soon to be released. So you kind of save up, right, leading into that, knowing it's coming. And it's a great point you guys both made, right? Going into a show and acquiring singles, which are much more affordable to do in person. You're not paying the shipping to get it to you. You walk in, you get them the same day. Bargain box hunting, right? Dollar box hunting. You see people post their steals and deals. I have a dollar box, and there was a card in there that was $40. Now, truth be told, when I put it in there, it was probably $10, but it went up to $40, and the gentleman found it, and he handed it to me and to not sell it. Like he didn't think it was fair. Like, hey, I found this in your dollar box, $40 card. And he's basically giving it back to me so I would not sell it to someone for $1. I'm like, no, you found it, right? It's $1. He goes, you're going to sell that for $1? I'm like, yeah. It wasn't $40 now when I put it in. I don't want to take that much credit, but it was probably $10. And the guy, I can't even remember who it was, but really sort of ramped up and started playing better. And he goes, wow, I can't believe that. Like someone else would take it and say, hey, thanks. And, I'm like, hey, I put it in there. I'm not taking it back back out. He goes, what will you do if I don't buy it for $1 and I walk away? And I'm like, I'll put it back in the box again. He goes, I'll take it. So it's a great opportunity to find stuff like that. I found so I talk about where something was found on me. I find stuff
Oh yeah.
like that as well when I go to a show as a consumer. I love to do that even at the National. The problem is the Nationals, it's like a boxing out for a rebound. You're kind of battling under the boards for box time. But it is a great opportunity to still afford the hobby. It stinks. Yes, I'm not going to argue the fact that it stinks that, not everyone can open Chrome baseball or basketball like they used to. I'm hoping that changes. I don't foresee it. But I also hope Topps and other manufacturers, right, don't lose sight of keeping some items affordable to rip because, I think we've all started was ripping that first pack, right? Until we remember which it was. I mean, I've told the story a million times. For me, it was a 1979 Topps baseball pack. I got 3 packs. My grandfather bought them for me. Brooklyn was on the front counter. And so I think that it's not everyone's entrance into the hobby, but it's a good percentage of it. And I hope that doesn't go away like that because of pricing. And I hope the companies are cognizant enough of that to put things in place to make sure that it kind of stays the case in some form or fashion. I know it won't be like it used to, and times are changing. I get that too. It can't be the old man on the porch, although I still do it sometimes. But I get it. So hopefully the powers that be keep that in mind. We talked a little bit about the National. It is in Chicago this year. Can I assume that I might get to see you guys there?
Yeah, we'll be there at least 2 days. I don't know if each year we'll go one additional day, but we went from 1 to 2, and I think 3 would probably be our just budget wise, and just there's only so much we can do. But last year we had a blast because we went up, met up with Greg Clark and Vince. He's a sports card ripping teacher, really cool channel. He's a teacher. He rips cards and he collects with his kids. And then our buddy Kyle, who it's funny. Kyle's a guy my age. I went to high school with him, known him forever. He was buying cards for Porter and, for like birthday gifts, Christmas. And then just like me, he's going to sports shops where he lives close to Chicago. And he's like, man, I really miss collecting, he's a Brewers fan. I miss collecting Paul Molitor and Robin Yount. So he did the same journey I did. He went back and got all the cards and he started collecting again. So he comes to the shows with us. And so, yeah, the National, like you said, it's the Super Bowl. The first year we went just to meet people like you or, Topps 85401, like guys like that we've been watching on YouTube forever. And then last year we probably did about 50-50, meeting up with people, doing more shopping. But it's just such a fun time. Community is so great. Just meeting people that, you talk to, text, phone calls, chats, and then you finally get to meet them in the flesh. And never are we disappointed because these people are really super nice, friendly. You meet them in person and even more so.
Yeah, that's good. And we'll kind of close with this. Like you said, maybe with the move you weren't able to get, but you're getting, a couple videos out on your YouTube channel. We hear a lot of the bad stories in the hobby, and we got to talk about them. They're important to warn people, so maybe someone doesn't get burnt. I fully believe that. But I always say for every bad story, right, there's 5, 6, 7, 8 good ones. And the hobby community is probably one of the greatest communities in any hobby. We'll kind of close with that and just kind of speak to that in your, since you started, your hobby community has obviously grown as well. And let's just talk about, I know you've given cards to people, people have given cards to you. And it's not just the giving of cards, it's the sharing of information, the sharing of the passion of collecting, that collecting gene. But just talk about kind of hobby community for you guys.
Yeah, go for it.
I want you to go first.
Okay, I'll go first. I think it's a pay it forward community. We've had the fortunate chance of meeting a lot of people that we've collected with or talked to, whether it's at the National or in person. Even since the last time we spoke, we have a good friend, Cotter. We'll do mailbox trades, right? We'll get racks for each other, just put them in each other's mailboxes. You think about the information. When I came in, I was very skeptical. When I grew up in the junk wax era, I mean, if you went to a card show, you thought that a dealer, they had one goal, and that was to rip you off. And Bo and I joke about this all the time. They were not nice to kids, but then when I took Porter to his first show or first couple, I mean, I couldn't believe the 180. They love seeing a kid in the hobby, and I hope no one takes the wrong way, but like collecting the right way. We always hear that about Porter. He collects the right way. He collects because he loves the cards. He's not, just carrying around the Pelican case, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there's room for both people in the hobby. And so dealers have always seemed to really embrace just, hey, we just like collecting. That's what we like to do. And we find that, a lot of the content that we watch, there's things that get clicks. It's hard not to ignore some of the, scandals that happen in the hobby, but
like the robbery at the National or whatever.
Yeah, or like autographs, any of that kind of stuff. But the videos we watch are just, hey, learning about how people collect, how they store stuff. One of our favorite things to watch are card room videos.
Yeah.
If somebody walks around their room and shows how they store stuff and all the unique things they picked up, or maybe their kid's baseball jersey from when they were playing. I mean, that stuff's really, really cool. And
I don't like to do that, Zach, because it usually costs me money because I'm like, I got to do that. And then I got to buy all new, like a new case or new protector. So, no, I get it. I'm kidding. You get some great ideas, too.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, the community, there's always going to be stuff out there that's, gets clicks, but there's a lot more good than bad. And, I'm glad that I was surprised because I came in thinking that everyone's going to be out to get you or no one's going to help you. Even as simple as when I did my first trading card database trade, I didn't know how to send a card through PWE, and somebody walked me through it. And so now whenever I know it's their first trade, I always say, here, I'll send you the stuff first. You can use my material, just replicate it, send it back. It's $1 worth of cards or something.
Yeah.
And it's just little things like that. Everyone does that. Everyone kind of polices each other, and we all love and live in this great community. How about you?
Sort of the same thing that you said. I'm glad that we've been able to make so many friends over the years, collecting and just meeting people and all that great stuff. And yeah, I love watching people and how they store their cards and how they display their stuff. And it really, I like it also because that gives us ideas. Like Greg Clark sort of inspired us to do how we set up our stuff back here now with the new shelving units and having displays and just boxes.
These are Calyx shelves, by the way.
Yeah.
We don't get any money from IKEA, but we talked to 15 different collectors, and every single person was like, oh, yeah, get the Calyx shelf. And they are perfect for the boxes. 3 rows fit in perfect in there. So, yeah. And we learned that by asking a bunch of hobby people, hey, what kind of shelves should we get? Calyx, IKEA, go for it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It doesn't even always have to be a card that's gifted. And that's nice. Don't stop doing that. That's not what I'm saying. But it's the sharing of info, right? Hey, get these or get these here, right? They're cheaper here, and that sort of thing, right? To save someone some money. And always important.
Time for a quick break, but we'll be right back.
If you care about the future of the hobby, it's time to know the name CTCA, the Certified Trading Card Association. CTCA is the first and only non-profit trade association dedicated to making the trading card hobby safer, smarter, and stronger for everyone. From collectors and local card shops to breakers, grading companies, and hobby businesses. Through initiatives like the Trusted Retailer Program, the Certified Breaker Program, the Healthy Hobby Initiative, and the Global Trading Card Registry, CTCA is helping bring more trust, transparency, accountability, and protection to the hobby we all love. Whether you're a shop owner, breaker, dealer, content creator, or passionate collector, now is the time to help shape the future of the hobby. Become a member today and join the movement at thectca.org. That's thectca.org, because a better hobby starts with all of us. CTCA, building a safer, smarter, and stronger hobby.
Thanks for sticking with us. Let's return to the show.
Just real quick, Porter, as a young man in the hobby, are you, I know sometimes dealers, I'm not one of them, thankfully, never should be that way. I love seeing kids. I usually have some free packs on me that I always will give to young boys and girls that I see at the show when they get close to my table. Do you feel like, for the most part, most dealers are receptive of to you compared to like an adult? Do you feel like someone's asking you, hey buddy, what are you looking for? Who do you collect? Or do you feel like maybe the dealers maybe are more geared to the adult clientele, if you will?
I've seen dealers over the years that have asked me like, hey, what do you like? What do you PC? Stuff like that. And then they'll maybe help me find some of that stuff in what their inventory. So yeah, most of the dealers, I feel like they have now embraced kids in the hobby, me being one of them, and they're for the most part nice to me at shows and at shops and stuff. What
I think is unique, and we don't sell anything. A lot of the kids that I think dealers sometimes get annoyed with are the kids that come up right away, like, you buying? And so I think with Porter, they do, and usually it takes maybe a few minutes. They see that they're, what are you looking for? Who you collecting? And Porter will talk, well, Jackie Robinson, or Ray Guy, like answers you don't normally, hear. It does help too that we collect teams that aren't the, hometown tax here in Wisconsin, right? We're not Packers, we're not Brewers. So usually a guy may have an Eloy Jimenez that he doesn't want to carry around anymore. And be like, hey, here you go.
Yeah.
I think that dealers understand that the future of the hobby is always going to be in that next generation. And so if you treat them right, they'll bring kids in. And especially going back to a topic we talked about earlier, the sports card kid. You're competing with the Pokemon dollar as a dealer. So when a kid comes in is excited about sports cards, keep them happy, keep them coming back. And we have our favorite dealers, right? We go back and they're loyal to the people that are, nice to us and always, have ways to figure out to do deals. And, it's definitely been much more welcoming than I ever would have thought of. And then the YouTube community, a lot of our channel is sharing mail days, racks, things that people send us, a lot of it geared towards Porter. And sometimes we're just overwhelmed with the generosity and just kindness of people within this community, because they like paying it forward because probably someone did it to them when they were getting into collecting.
Yeah, no doubt, guys. And I mean, for me, I'm still obviously a collector. I have a PC, even though I'm a dealer. And I just, I got my start as a 7-year-old kid, right? Like you said just now, so elegant. The kids are the next ones that are carrying this baton forward. If no one does it, the hobby will suffer. I'm not gonna tell you the hobby will die. That's never gonna happen. But the hobby will suffer if there's not enough people enjoying it, right? And so, I got started in 1979, all those years ago, as a 7-year-old kid, and here I am 46 years later, right? And so I love seeing those kids active in the hobby, and because I was one of them, I'm sort of jealous because I can't go back there again. But all joking aside, right? It's important. It's important, and I don't think every dealer really thinks like that. But it's important especially if you're a younger dealer. Like I don't know, I'm in my 50s now. I don't know how much shows I got left as a dealer. But if you're a younger dealer, right, that's more going to be your lifeblood, if you will, especially when you're doing it full time. I don't, it's not my full-time job, but if you're full-time in the hobby and doing shows, right, you should love seeing kids like Porter that are collecting, like you say, maybe in a little different way than sort of we're accustomed to, but sort of the way it used to be, sort of a throwback. We'll call Porter the throwback, right?
Yeah.
And, so I think that's important. I think I don't want to, paint with a broad brush, as I like to say, but I think most dealers get it. That light bulb goes off. There's going to be a few, whether it's short-sightedness, just don't care enough, whatever the reasoning is, might not. and like you guys said, right, you learn which dealers you like and enjoy, and who they are, but even besides the cards, right? Who are they as a person, and that sort of thing, and then you'll make your purchasing or trade decisions a lot of times based on that, and that's how it should be as consumers, right? We have good experiences, we go back. We have a good meal at a restaurant, we're more likely to go there down the line and eat again, right? We don't, we're probably like, I don't want to eat there anymore, So it's the same thing like in cards and shows and dealers, right? We sort of get to know who does it right, who cares, if you will, and that's important. It's good to hear you. That and the hobby community, like you guys said, is a tremendous one. And they always say, don't meet your idols, and I think that's more towards athletes. But like you said, you talk to someone online or you get to know them online, and hopefully you meet them in person and they're the same person. And a quick story, and someone met me. I don't know. This was a couple years ago at the National, and we talked for like 20 minutes, and at the end, they were shaking my hand, like, "Oh my God, you're just like you are on your podcast." And I laughed, and I said, "I got to ask you, like, what did you expect me to be like?" Because I was like, to me, I'm just myself. Like, there's no, like, it was a weird. I get why after talking with him, I go. But I'm like, well, what did you think I was? I'm not a celebrity. I'm not Brad Pitt. Like, I wasn't going to big time, like what he goes, well, I think some, I don't want to speak for everyone. I've met a couple, online hobby content creators. And when I met them, they were a little bit different and short and curt and, okay, I got to go, and you weren't like that. I'm like, I never will be like this. What you see is what you get. Sometimes that's not always. Like, you get this ugly mug on YouTube sometimes. That's not always a good thing. But like, I've never been like, but the comment really kind of caught me off guard because I wouldn't know how to be otherwise, right? I remember I was raised by my grandparents, guys, and my grandfather from a very early age said, if you be yourself, you never have to pretend to be anybody else. And he also had another line. He'd say, if you never lie, you never have to remember the truth. So, little things, it's funny because you take them to heart more as you get older. You hear them when you're a kid and you get it. I don't want to make it like I didn't get it, but it makes all the more sense as you get older. And so, and I've gotten that more than once where people say, man, you're just like I hear you and how you are there. And I'm like, well, that's me too. Like, if there's another guy on my show, maybe that'd be way different. But but I guess some people are maybe different in person than they are online, and that's not going to be my MO, and that's not even a hobby thing. That's just in general in person with I'm a teaching assistant, so I work in a high school with kids, and so I'm going to be that down to earth guy for everyone across the world. At least I hope to. So. And that always surprised me when someone says that, but I get a chuckle out of it, and we usually both parties do, and they're like, well, it's very refreshing. I'm like, well, I hate to bore you, but the next time we meet, it's going to probably be the same thing. So, but guys, I appreciate you making some time. I know you, like you said, with the recent move and stuff, I know you're busy. As always, I give their guests the final word, where people can see what you're doing, your YouTube channel. Take your time, share all that stuff.
All right. Well, thanks, John. It's pretty simple. We do a YouTube channel, Zack and Porter, AND. And I think when we first were on your show, we maybe had just been about a year in.
No, it was only a few months. Yeah,
only a few months or so. I definitely, if you're newer to the hobby, and you like Sports Card Nation, you clearly want to learn more. We have a great collection or a great group of collectors that hang out on our channel and watch our videos. You can see in the comments and find other things. That's how we find other people. You look through the comments, people look the same way. We open up a lot of just mail days, things we find at card shows. We're not ripping any wax. We're just sharing a lot of stories about the hobby, and sometimes we'll do something unique for one of our PCs. But
Yeah.
Definitely can reach out to us there. We've even met a lot of people and done trades through our channel as well. So Zack and Porter on YouTube. And yeah, John, thank you so much for having us back. I guess we didn't totally do a ratings bomb for you that first time. You decided to have us back. Oh, John, I think you're quiet for a second.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't have. Here's the thing. Most of my shows, I'm blessed now doing this 8 years. I built up a following, thankfully. Didn't start out like that in the first year, but since then it's ramped up here in year 8. So most episodes get 4-figure downloads. I'm very appreciative of that. It's humbling. I don't take it for granted. I say that all the time, right? I'd be talking to myself without you folks out there. So that's not lip service. That's from the heart. And I don't have people on. That's the other thing that, it's always nice to have, an actor like Dwyer Brown from Field of Dreams, or a CEO, right? But I don't have people on just because I necessarily know, like, hey, that might get more downloads. And I get it. Some people check that box, right? For me, this hobby encompasses everybody, right? From low level to high levels, everywhere in between. And without all of us right there, again, the hobby is that telling the history, right? We need all those facets to put that puzzle together. So if you look, we've had over, I think we're approaching almost 300 different folks have been on the show, and that's kind of scary when I think about that's how many. And
you know what my favorite
all
was,
walks
John?
of life, right? Male, female, corporate, not corporate, authors, artists, collectors, dealers, promoters.
The thumbs down guy. That was my favorite one.
That was funny.
that was
funny.
Episode.
And listen, sometimes here's a great example. There's someone, he doesn't really collect cards, but he's a fellow Mets fan.
Yeah.
And much like me, he doesn't shy away from complaining when there's reason to complain. He became a viral sensation for what he did on a televised game. Yeah. And he was great just to pick his brain and talk to him about, and like he said on the show, like, he didn't do that to get any sort of notoriety. Just kind of came with the territory. And
let's see if I can.
He's like, I'm not any different.
Oh,
yeah. It was the whole run, right? The Mets. Yeah. It's the Yankees.
So, and just a really cool Gary Denier is his name. So, and just a cool moment, I had Dwyer Brown on from Field of Dreams. He played in the movie, played Kevin Costner's ghost father coming back. And as a dad, I don't know if I'm assuming you guys have seen the movie.
Oh yeah, of course.
I've seen that movie. I don't know how many times. That scene, like, I'm like a little baby, like, every single time. I know what's coming, and it still just hits you it still just hits you that way. If you're a dad or a son, that's what's going to happen. And just one of my favorite movies and one of my favorite scenes from a movie. And like he'll tell you, he made a whole career from a 1-minute scene in a movie. He's got a new book out, which I'm in the process of reading, and the book's about fathers and sons and the relationships. And in the book, he tells stories of people coming up to him in public and saying what that scene meant to them, or how they had lost maybe a dad and it made them reminisce, or maybe a son and father had a falling out and that scene caused them to pick up the phone.
That's great.
And say, this is dumb. Let's squash this and get on the same page again. So, I'm and some of the shows I've done, guys, and I know we're going a little overtime here, but even when I've had my dad on twice to talk about growing up at Ebbets Field and in Brooklyn and meeting the Jackie Robinsons and the Duke Schneiders and the Pee Wee and those guys. And, it wasn't my most talking about downloads, not my most downloaded show, especially at the time, but probably one of my most impactful, because I got so many emails and DMs, Zack and Porter, that say, hey, hearing you reminisce and your dad getting choked up, thinking about his youth and growing up in Brooklyn and hearing those great stories that you just can't get from anyone, right? Those, my dad's generation, unfortunately, is still around, thank God, but he's 88. The generation is going away. And so those stories and connections with players of that era, those are going away too, other than, on what's captured on video or written. And so to have them on and talk about that, I got a lot of feedback saying, hey, hearing you talk with your dad, I called my dad right after listening to your show. Or me and my dad had an argument, hadn't spoken in 2 years, and hearing you talk to your dad, I'm like, this is dumb. What we're mad at each other about in the grand scheme of things is silly. I'll blink first. I'll call. And I remember sharing that with my wife. Some of those messages. She was a little taken back. Like she's not a card person, or she doesn't listen to the show. She's supportive as a wife. But when I showed some of those messages from the show with my dad, she goes, "Really?" I'm like, yeah, I'm as kind of shocked a little bit too, or humbled by it as well. So you never know. I always say this, guys, and this goes for anybody's content, right, including your YouTube channel. You never know who's listening, who's watching, and what impact you might actually be making. And and for the 4 or 5 messages I got with my dad's appearance, and maybe there was 4 or 5 even other ones that did something, but didn't let me know about it. So yeah, always be wary that your content could be making a difference. And even if it's as simple as, hey, I love Zack and Porter, they make me laugh. I love seeing a father and son share a hobby, share moments, right? Even if it's that, you bring a smile to someone's face. You can't put a price. You can't put a price on stuff like that. So, someone asked me once, like, do you profit from your podcast? And I'm like, I make money. I still have to go to work, during the week. But I get more out of those kind of feedback moments when it says, love the episode, it caused me to do this, or reconnect with this, or you saved me, I was about to do something, but listening to you, I realized I was going to get in trouble. And you say that stuff, you can't put a price on those sort of things, guys. And so to anyone, including you guys, right, you make that creates that content. You should never lose sight of that, because it's important. You never know, I say. So, guys, thank you. Well, listen, we'll have you back. It won't be 4 years next time. But next time we'll have you back. Porter will probably be taller than both you and Isaac.
Yeah, probably.
But, guys, thank you. Keep up what you're doing. We talk about hobby community. You guys are great examples of doing it the right way, and keep going.
We appreciate that. Thank you for having us on, John.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, as always, to our guests. In this case, Zack and Porter, father and son, doing great hobby community things, collecting together, right? And I think most of us, not all of us, but I think most of us can point to a relative that got us into this hobby, to start our hobby journey, if you will. I think that's the majority of how we've got into collecting, and love to see that tradition continue, no matter what year it is. And they're 2 great guys doing fun hobby stuff. Check out their YouTube channel, as they show a lot of their mail days and racks, talks a little sports and what they've got and what's going on. So, it's been 4 years since the previous time we talked to him. So, hopefully it won't be another 4, before we talk to him again. So, with that being said, we're going to wrap up our final segments here and call it an episode. And appreciate everyone out there that takes time out of your day to listen to the show. Without you, we don't exist. All right.
Time for our Hobby is the People Announcer of the Week.
This is Mike, this Baseball Card Life, and remember, the hobby is the people.
If you'd like to be the Hobby is the People Announcer of the Week, do a WAV or MP3 file and send it to sportscardnationpc@gmail.com.
Say goodnight, Kane.